I want to expose a dirty cop and a dirty priest. One calling for the murder of our president, President Trump, and one who called for the murder of our Pope. So the priest called for the murder of our Pope. So James Comey, lifelong law enforcement guy, posted, I'm sure you've seen it on social media, a picture of seashells that said, spelled out in numbers, 8647. And this has been like a popular thing amongst the left. 86, every gangster and cop knows, means to kill somebody. And the left are all gangsters, so they know. And 47 is President Trump. He's our 47th president. And Comey said, after he got backlash, he's like, I didn't realize what it meant. Come on. And the reason I call James Comey a dirty cop, there's a few clues. Number one, he spent his life in public service. He's worth like $20 million. Dirty cops get rich being dirty cops. You know, St. Paul said, told Timothy in 1 Timothy 6:10, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Many faithful have wandered from the faith, seeking to be rich. So, but the left, and another reason I know he's a dirty cop, he admitted he lied to get General Michael Flynn in trouble. So if you're not familiar with that, General Michael Flynn was like a 35-year veteran of the Army, decorated war hero, really, really smart guy, head of intelligence. Obama put him in charge of national security. Then when he started exposing some of the corruption in the intelligence agency, Obama fired him. But when Trump hired him back, the intelligence community got really scared. So James Comey went on all the friendly media, NBC, ABC, bragging and laughing how he tricked General Flynn. He goes, yeah, we were friends. So I called him up. I said, hey, we just got to ask you some questions. And Flynn was like, do I need a lawyer? He's like, nah, you don't need a lawyer. It's just amongst friends. He's like, I would have never got away with this with any other president. You know, Bush wouldn't allow it. Obama wouldn't allow it. But, you know, Trumps were disorganized because they're not politicians. They don't understand how Washington works. He's laughing about this. So he sent their guys in. He's like, hey, have you guys, he goes, and even admitted, he goes, you know, all these guys have back channels to Russia before they get in, you know, to get to know people. He goes like, hey, have you ever talked to the Russians yet? And he's like, no. And then like, okay. And they find out that he did talk to the Russians. So that's lying to an FBI agent. And they wanted him to admit to all kinds of stuff that he didn't do, or they were going to just come at him hard. He had to file bankruptcy, he had to sell his home. They just destroyed him financially. He had no money left. He was still fighting these false charges. And then they told him, and Comey admits to this, they told him, well, you know, we looked into your son, and he's done some things with taxes that could probably land him in jail. Basically threatened him, if you don't take this plea bargain, we're going to send your son to jail. So he took the plea bargain. So this is how the left works. They'll destroy you to protect their institutions or corrupt institutions. So James Comey is definitely a dirty cop. And calling for violence on the left shouldn't surprise you. The left is so violent. You know, you can just go back a couple years in 2017. What's his name? James Hodgkins. Went to a Republican baseball practice. So every year, a lot of people don't realize this, every year the Republicans in Congress play the Democrats in Congress in like a friendly softball game. And they joke, they have beers together, and it's a way to keep unity in Congress. Even though we oppose each other politically, we're one nation under God. And so this is kind of like a way to keep camaraderie amongst the congressmen. They've been doing it, 100 years. Well, this Democrat, James Hodgkins, wearing a Bernie Sanders shirt, came with a machine gun to kill all the Republicans when they were practicing. I think he shot like 5 of them, and Steve Scalise was in critical condition. A lot of us were praying for him. He's a good Catholic man, Republican congressman. He nearly died. It took him like a couple of years to fully recover, and I don't know if he'll ever be the same. I don't know his condition today. But this is This is after Maxine Waters told her constituents, we're not accepting Trump's presidency. We're going to impeach him. Before, they were talking about impeachment before he was even sworn in. They're so corrupt. We're going to impeach him. But in the meanwhile, you got to get in the face of every Republican. Get in their face, push them, shove them, scream at them, let them know we hate them. And sure enough, you've seen videos of people attacking Republicans' families. Like Mitch McConnell and his wife, they're like 80 years old. These young Democrats are coming up. They knocked all their food off the table onto them and shouting on them. Rand Paul was walking with his wife and they're throwing stuff at him, shouting, threatening him and his wife. I mean, these people were completely out of their mind. And then after that, you had all the riots in Portland, in Minnesota, in Seattle. Like over a dozen people were killed by these left-wing activists, these Democrats, Antifa, BLM, fires everywhere. And the mainstream media was saying, no, these are peaceful protests. The summer of love, the mayor of Seattle called it. They literally took over police stations. These people were terrorists. It was amazing how violent the left is. But it goes back even deeper than that. In the 60s, you had Bill Ayers, the guy that Obama started his political career with. He started in his living room in Chicago. Bill Ayers is a rich heir, a wealthy guy. But him and his wife, Bernadine Dorn, they're still married, but they keep different last names for whatever reason, started the Weather Underground terrorist group in the 60s. They were a far-left Marxist group, like admitted they were communists. They bombed police stations, they bombed military facilities, and they killed a couple cops. And Bernadine Dorn was sentenced to jail, but she was pardoned by her friend Bill Clinton, so she's free. And Bill Ayers had a rich daddy. All these terrorists, all these left-wing radicals, all are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They all go to Ivy League schools, and they hate our country. And Bill Ayers' rich daddy's lawyer got him off on a technicality. He was dead to rights that he admitted that he planted the bomb. He said he didn't mean to kill the cop. He just wanted to blow up the police station, but a cop died. This is the left, the violence on the left. And you see all their environmental terrorists, you don't hear much about them these days. The media kind of keeps that hush-hush. But in the 70s, they reported on there's like 12 left-wing environmental terrorist groups, like the FBI calls them terrorist groups. They blow up buildings, to save trees. But it goes even deeper than that on the left. The Democrats started the Ku Klux Klan after the Republicans freed the slaves, after the first Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, freed the slaves, and many Republicans died in the Civil War freeing the slaves. So the Democrats started the Ku Klux Klan. In fact, to be a member of the Democratic Party back in the day, you had to be a member of the Ku Klux Klan. The most popular Klansman was Robert Byrd. He was a Democrat senator, Robert Byrd, and he was the Senate Majority Leader, then the Senate Minority Leader. He was the leader of the Senate, just like Chuck Schumer is. When they have the majority, they're the Majority Leader. When they're in the minority, they're the Minority Leader, just like Chuck Schumer. He was there for like 10 years, I believe more, like from 1977 to 1989. Every year, the Democrats voted for this former Ku Klux Klansman. But he wasn't just a member of the Ku Klux Klan, he was a leader. Robert Byrd was a Grand Kleagle, and he bragged that he recruited 150 of his racist friends to form a large Klan chapter in his hometown. And as late as 2005, he dropped the N-word 5 times on national television. Now imagine if this was a Republican. We couldn't even get, we wouldn't want a Klansman ahead of us. But the most violent part of the left, the most violent person on the left was a woman named Margaret Sanger. She started Planned Parenthood. And the reason, she says, and she's on an old 60 Minutes clip with Mike Wallace, you could Google it. She says, the Negroes are like weeds and need to be exterminated. She was famous for giving speeches at Ku Klux Klan rally. And there's one, you can find an old black and white video of her saying, we're going to start sterilization clinics, Planned Parenthood, because we're going to eliminate the Negro race. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to put them in poor black neighborhoods, which he called Negro neighborhoods, and we're going to eliminate the black race. What has been the result of Planned Parenthood? Well, still today, 90% of Planned Parenthood clinics are in poor black neighborhoods. And in New York City, more black babies are aborted than born. And the blacks are the only race in America whose population hasn't grown. Minority population hasn't grown. In fact, it declined. So yes, Margaret Sanger and the Democrats are eliminating the black race, like she said. So that's the most violent, and I can go on. There's so much I gotta get to work. I'm trying to knock this out before I go to work. But the same tactics are used by these rad trads on YouTube that hate the church. They pretend, just like the Democrats pretend they love America. These rad trads pretend they love the church, just like the Democrats pretend they're the good Americans. These rad trads come across, we're the best Catholics. And they use the same tactics. And one guy in particular, his name is Father James Altman. And now he came out and said Pope Francis wasn't the Pope, so he was openly set up a contest. And according to canon law, he excommunicated himself, but so he's not a father anymore, but I believe the church has to, like with Vigano came out and said Pope Francis wasn't the Pope. Now he says Pope St. John Paul wasn't the Pope. I mean, he just totally went off the deep end, but Altman has said the same thing, so he's a set of a cantus, openly, he admits it. And but with Vigano, the church wanted to have a trial, but Vigano, of course, was too afraid to go face the Pope and the cardinals in Rome. So they said he excommunicated himself. So I believe Father James Altman excommunicated himself. Technically, he's not a father, but technically, I don't think I can not call him father until the church itself declares that he's excommunicated, confirms the excommunication. So for now, I'll call him Father James Altman. I respect the collar. I don't respect the man. The man's a liar. Father Thaddy Doyle, a good priest that I do respect, has a YouTube channel called God's Cottage. Exposed him years ago. Had him at a speech, I think a LifeSite News rally, where he literally lied about Pope Francis. Like he said, Pope Francis said this, and then and then Father Thaddy shows you exactly what Pope Francis said. It was as different as night and day. So just like the left lied about Trump and the Republicans, dehumanizes us, calls us Nazis, garbage, deplorables. So just like the left thinks it's justified to kill Republicans and to kill Trump. In fact, a recent Reuters poll says 55% of Democrats said it would be justified to kill Trump because they made him out to be like Hitler. So you would say, would it have been justified for someone to kill Hitler before he committed the first murder of a Jew? People say, yeah, you would have prevented so much tragedy. This is how these Democrats think. And this is how a lot of these rad trads think. And Father Altman actually came out and said on a YouTube interview, he thinks that someone should put a millstone around Pope Francis's neck and throw him to a river. And on a subsequent interview, they're like, were you just being figuratively? He's like, no, I was being literal. He said, because he's dragging so many souls to hell, it would be better for us to kill him. He literally said that. So what was the response? It's kind of hard to get to the Pope these days. He's got security, the Swiss guards, ain't gonna let you get too close. But another man named, what was his name? Another man named, and you can see on his social media and letters he wrote to the local newspaper, this was a rad trad that, believes all these lies about the church and the Pope and his priests. And I wrote this guy's name down. His name was Gary Hermes. And just a couple months ago, in cold blood, at point blank range, he killed a Catholic priest in Kansas called Father Arul Carasella. His parish was devastated. They said this was such a good priest, such a holy man, such a loving father. And this rad trad who hates the Catholic Church because he thinks he's superior, and his YouTube philosophers, and most of them are philosophers, most of them have degrees in philosophy, they're not theologians. these YouTube philosophers that tell him the Pope was bad and his priests are bad. He couldn't get to the Pope, so he got to one of his priests and he killed him. And I believe that's a direct result of Father James Altman saying the Pope should be killed. And so these people need to be exposed. They're liars. And again, Father James Altman, he was very disobedient to his bishop. And, you know, a lot of people agreed with his stance that the church shouldn't have been closed during the pandemic. I agreed with that too. But just like, you know, I'm an enlisted man in the Army. I was in the Army of God. I was an enlisted man in the Navy. But I'm an enlisted man in the Army of God. I take orders from my generals. I don't tell my generals what war plans to make, you know? So when they said the churches was closed, I just accepted it. Father Altman didn't. He kept having, you know, just really nasty talking about his bishops and the church. And so they basically fired him, you know, said, you know, you can't present yourself as a priest. And of course, he's just with that disobedient, rebellious attitude that God tells Samuel about. Rebellion is witchcraft. He has that witchcraft rebellion. You can see demons just enter this guy. He just got evil or angrier and angrier. And, you know, these rat trads judge us and make us, because they judge us by the liturgy we use and by how we dressed. And, but God also told Samuel, man judges by outward appearance. God looks at the heart. And although we're not allowed to judge, judgment is for God. Paul tells the Galatians, you'll know them by their fruit. So look in Galatians, the works of the flesh and the fruit of the Spirit. And you watch these guys and you tell me if they're walking in the flesh or the Spirit. It's very obvious to me which one it is. But also, you know, when St. Padre Pio was falsely told not to have public mass, he said the will of my superiors or the will of God, and he obeyed them for 12 years, didn't have public mass, never complained, never whined, and then it was proven he was a saint. Father Altman is no saint. Father Altman, when he had to resign, he came on, they're being so mean to me. My bishops are being mean and mistreated. Please give me money to fight them. Started a GoFundMe and became a millionaire. In 30 days, he raised over $1 million. Again, 1 Timothy 16. The love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and it's led many faithful to wander from the faith. What did he do with that $1 million? Did he donate it to the poor? No, he bought a freaking brand new house. What a grifter. But anyway, he's very wealthy now, very popular amongst the rad trads that hate the church, you know. And, you know, you just got to be aware of this. You got to be aware of this. These people lie. You know, it's one thing disagreeing and saying, I disagree. And you know, there's some good Catholics that disagreed with the way Pope Francis handled things. But the outright lie proves these people are evil. They're no different than the left-wingers. Because with them, just like the left-wingers, the issue is never the issue. The issue isn't they think Pope Francis was a unholy man, even though they'll call him the devil. Like Altman called him the Antichrist. Altman called him a demon and a viper. Like they call him like vicious names. They don't really believe that. The issue is either money and popularity, or like for the real hardcore believers, the issue is Vatican II and the ordinary mass. See, because a lot of these guys are SSPX, and they literally teach. My son was appalled. He's like, Dad, I came across this website. People are saying if you go to the ordinary mass, you're participating in an intrinsic evil. I'm like, yeah, they believe the ordinary mass that the Catholic Church approves, that most of us go to, is intrinsically evil. Intrinsically evil means it's worse than evil, because evil could be redeemed. Intrinsically evil, it can't be redeemed. So they're saying when we receive the full flesh, body, and full divinity of Jesus Christ, we're participating in something evil. These people are whack jobs. That's whacked. That is a whack theology. And to think you're a better Catholic because you believe that is whacked out. But they're very influential. They have a lot of YouTubers that promote their bishops, their priests, and so they need to be exposed. You know, some of them will lie because they want to bring back Vatican II, just like the old Catholics want to bring back Vatican I. They're living in a dream world. It'll never happen. These guys want to get rid of Vatican II. These guys want to get rid of Vatican I. These guys want to get rid of the new Mass. These guys want to get rid of that. It's never going to happen. So the shills, the grifters will repeat their lies for money and fame. But the true believers will repeat their lies because they're so delusional. They think the Pope's going to get rid of Vatican II. The Pope's going to get rid of the ordinary Mass. Now, the Pope Leo has talked about how awesome the Eastern liturgies are. So maybe he'll modify them, but he's not going to get rid of the ordinary Mass. We might bring back some traditions from the Eastern liturgies. Just like with the new Mass, we brought back traditions from the first 3 centuries, like communion in the hand and speaking in the vernacular. So, but anyway, please subscribe, because whenever I point out favorites on YouTube, I end up losing subscribers. And they'll tell me, like, they're proud to tell me, unsubscribed, unsubscribed. And I'm like, peace be with you. There's a long list of people you just joined. You know, I'm not doing this for the views. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love the Catholic Church, and I love our Lord Jesus Christ, and he gave us the church. And I think all faithful sons and daughters of the church need to defend the church, the Lord, and the vicar of the Lord, the vicar of Christ, the Pope. So God bless Pope Francis, and God bless Pope Leo XIV. Stay Catholic.